Storing images to your backend system can be a little tricky, but with the help of Firebase API, it can be done in a lot simpler ways. So first of all, what I want to do is I'm just gonna go to my activity main file and let's create a button. So I'm gonna add a button, match parent, and let's change the ID to select image. All right, and I'm gonna change the text also. So let's change it to select image from gallery. Now obviously you can create capture image from camera, but that's for the later parts, or while we were while we will be creating profile upload function or something like that. All right, so next thing that you need to do, you don't want to add this code to your files, because for uh, storage function we don't need this code, but if you are using database you may need this as well. And in your app level Gradle file you might want to add one more dependency, and that is this one. Now make sure that this version over here matches with your other dependencies of Firebase. So if you haven't included any of these above Firebase dependencies, it doesn't matter because we are just focusing on the storage part. So this must be included. And now in the main activity, let's set the reference for our button. So I'm going to create a private button and I'm going to call it select image, and here let's set the reference and select image. Alright, so we have set the reference for our image. Now we need to create another variable, and this is going to be a storage reference, and I'm going to call it mstorage. Alright, so let's set it over here, and mstorage is going to be equal to firebase storage dot get instance dot get reference. Alright, now what it returns is it returns this root directory over here. So if you come over to your storage section over here, you may see that this is the root link of your Firebase storage. So this is pretty much like the root URL is included over here. Now if you want to add child to it, all you need to do is dot child, but we will do that later. Now I'm going to create an on click listener for our button. So whenever user clicks, it should create an intent, and it is going to be alright, no, action pick, yeah, that it is. Now I'm going to set the type to okay image, because I don't want to select any other data instead of image. Now next thing, start activity for results. Inside this we need the intent, that is the intent, and lastly was an integer for request code. So I'm gonna create private static final int, and it is going to be gallery intent. Let's assign it some value and put it over here. Okay, so our intent is created. Let's run the app and see if it causes any error. And if you come down to your Firebase console, in storage section, come down to the rules tab, and if you are using user authentication, then this rule should be good. But if you don't have any users for your app and you want it to get direct access to it, you might want to change it to null. But this is probably not a good idea to change it to null, because this will later then allow every user, any guest user also, to upload files to our database, but nobody wants that. So if you are using user authentication, then that must be really good, and you want to change it back to the previous one. So I'm just gonna use this null over here, and let's go back to our app, and here is the gallery intent created. Now this is emulator and it's pretty slow, so let me check if it gets any images captured. Can't connect to camera, and that's probably because there is no camera included here. Okay, don't even know that, but let me just check if we can change it from the manager, or maybe if I just give me a second. Yeah, let me open up my Google Chrome, and here in the apps I have Visor. So if it USB debugging is not enabled, let me just quickly connect my phone to it, because this usually doesn't happen, and my phone is connected. Yeah, so I don't want to give you any access to files, but that's okay. Now it is going to connect in a while. Till then, let's run the app in my phone over here. So it's right now it isn't detecting my phone, but that's actually weird because we have connected to the Visor. I'm gonna check my debugging options, just a minute. Okay. Alright, so these both are taking long time. I'm just gonna close this, and let's come down here, see the settings of nope, oops, I accidentally clicked the Gradle button, and now I'm gonna change the settings for this one and show advanced settings. Here's the camera. Yeah, front, I'm gonna change emulated both. Let's hit finish, saving the ADB. Now this may take a little time to process or maybe run it, but let's just get with it. Alright, so now our emulator will start within a minute or two. I'm just gonna open in Mac, but if I don't, let's go down to our doc section over here. Till the emulator is starting, we can see the documentation for the file upload and getting the download URL. Now basically whenever you get a download URL, you need to handle a lot of things to get it to your image view in the Android Studio. But if you come down to Google, just simply go to Google and search for Picasso Android. Now this is not an external, actually it is an external, but it's previously included in Android Studio. All you need to do is just copy the dependency to your Android Studio. Now this will work for the latest version of Android Studios, and if you have older version or it is not detecting the file, you can even download the jar file, but that's really okay. I'm gonna go and run the app now. Okay, so connected devices. All right, so this is actually really useful library. It will save you a lot of code, so I always use this one. So I'm going to copy this and use it later when we will be retrieving the files from the database and showing it to user. Now our Gradle is finished installing APK, and the part of showing image to the user, we will be working on it in the next part, but till then you can also try it by yourself because it's really easy to use, so don't worry about that. So let's check the gallery. Okay, the app is running pretty fine, but we don't have any images. Let me open up my camera. That's why I don't use emulator, because it's too slow. Let me take 4 to 5 images. All right, I always work with Visor, but the problem is whenever I'm using hotspot or something, it just doesn't connect well, so I don't use that much. So I'm gonna pick this image, and if it doesn't causes any crash, that means our code is working fine. So let's go back to the Android Studio, and after on create, I'm gonna type in an activity result. So when we get the results from the intent. Now what we want to do is create an if statement, and let's type in if request code equals gallery intent, that's the request code, and result code equals result okay. So if the result code is okay and request code is matching with our gallery intent, then what we want to do is URI, and we are going to retrieve the URI from data.getData. So that's how you can get the URI from this one, and you might want to try to log it or something, but let's just skip that. Now the next part that I'm going to do is I'm going to create another database reference. All right, not database reference, I'm going to create a storage reference. Where we have it. All right, storage reference, and I'm going to set this equal to our where we have it, mstorage dot. All right, we need to assign it some name, so I'm going to call it child ref, because it is going to be child ref, or yeah, maybe we can call it file path, because this is actually going to be the path where we are storing our files. So I'm going to create a child photos. So inside our root directory over here, there's going to be a folder named photos. Then inside that there will be our file. So for now I'm just using the file name for this one, but if you have users and all, you might want to add a random name, because it shouldn't match with other names. So I'm just gonna for now get last path segment from the URI, and I'm gonna use it as a path. Now the next thing is our file path dot put file. Now this is how you going to put file to your database. Now inside this, we need to include our URI, which is the result we got from our intent. So URI, and then we need to set add on success listener. Now this is going to work when everything works fine. Now make sure you add a semicolon, or if you want to add on failure listener, and this is going to work when you get any errors, but we are not going to work with failure method just right now. For our success method, what we want to do is add a toast.make text, and the context obviously main activity dot this upload done, and toast dot length long, and maybe just show the toast. All right, so that's a pretty long code, but it's actually pretty simple as well. Just make sure that you create a path location for that, and you put a file inside that, and add an on success listener. All right, just hit the play button. Now for the camera, if you want to capture the camera photos and want to upload to server, it's actually pretty simple as well. Maybe we'll take a look at that later, but if you guys want to try it by yourself, you're always welcome. And one thing I want to tell you guys before I proceed, I was working on app design implementation recently. So if you just go down to Play Store, and okay, it's sometimes it's slow, and just search for TVAX Studio, or maybe I'll include the link. There are the apps that I was developing recently. This is the latest one. I was trying to implement some good design for a sound recording app, and you guys can check these apps. And if you have some really good designs, if you have done your apps, you can always send to my Twitter account, and I'm gonna give you the user ID in the description box. Yeah, so you can always contact me on Twitter as well, because I'm always online on that. All right, so enough talk, let's click select image from gallery, and let's pick any image, click on it. Now you may not see any difference. Okay, the Firebase it stopped working, permission denial, and read external storage. So obviously we need to provide use this permission read external storage. Yep, let's hit the run button again, and now make sure that uh, you have allowed the user to upload. If request auth is null, that's okay. Yeah, now let's see if when the app runs, now if you many of you are running Marshmallow right now, and there is one little problem with it, that use the Android guys have created something new that previously when a user installs the app, it was showing it in Play Store that permissions are required. But if you are running Marshmallow version, then you need to uh, check the permissions and get permissions from user in the activity itself. So that's kind of a problem for Marshmallow users, but that's okay. Problem for developers, not for users. All right, again one error, and that is permission denial. All right, so that's what I was talking about. For the Marshmallow users, we can't actually do it right here. We need to get the access from the settings. Just for right now, maybe you can include the code over here, but that's okay. Just for the test purpose and to save time for tutorial, let's come down here, and where's our app? FireLearn permissions, and we need to give it an access to storage. All right, now if you run the app again, it should not cause any error, but you can always check the API for that as well. Now you may not see any differences until the file is uploaded, because once it's success, it should show the toast then. So there is no refresh button for the database, so you can just click on the refresh button over here. Now if it gets refreshed, you can see that it has created a folder named photo, and this hasn't loaded right. Okay, I'm gonna hit the reload button. Now if you can go down here, we can create a progress dialog. So I'm gonna create all right, so progress dialog equal progress dialog, and once user clicks activity result, we want to show the dialog, and the message is going to be uploading, and once it gets uploaded, progress dialog dot dismiss. All right, so that should work pretty well. And here you can see that inside the photos folder, it has uploaded the photo. Now this is pretty simple to upload, and getting the download URI is simple as well, but we are going to be covering that in next part. Let's just test it once again and see if it is working fine. And let me just select some other image. This is too slow for the emulator, but okay. Now what's exactly happening is yeah, now it's working pretty fine, uploading. Yeah, uploading done. There is no problem in the process, but emulators can be hectic sometime, even the Android Studio. You can see that the file is uploaded, but if you test it on your real device, a mobile phone, and if it's working fine, then it means it's working fine. But you need to test it on different devices as well, because sometimes it causes error in some other devices, so you may need to check that as well. So this is it for this part, and in next part we're going to retrieve the image and we're going to show it to user in an image view over here. And also we're going to take a look at how you can present in a circle, um, what do you call it, instead of a box shape we're going to create a circle shape for the image. Not going to create, we're just going to use the library. Okay, so see you guys in next part.